unfolds, quite literally, you'll get a sense of just how much I wrestle. I could have easily called this the hope and the hopelessness of writing a talk on the hope and the hopelessness of the vegan future. You see, not only is the topic itself immensely challenging, I had no idea, but I'm also a full-time daddy to a 3-year-old, and holding a train of thought is not what it used to be. But you know, I found my way through. I lived through the impossibility, and here we are. Before I came up with this topic, I had many other ideas of the kinds of things that I would be interested in talking about. I thought, oh, maybe the intersectionality of oppression is something I'm quite passionate about, or vegan parenting is something that's on my mind all the time. And every time I would call up my mom, who's sitting right here, to say, what do you think of this idea? And she'd always say, oh, good, great, interesting, wonderful. And then as the conversation would progress, we would invariably find ourselves talking about hope and hopelessness, particularly for my mother. So while I was trying to think my way through to a topic, she was living her way through actual lived experience. One moment, hopeful that change can and will come, enlivened by the victories, and the next moment, despairing at an unchanging world, or worse, a worsening world. So finally, after a couple of weeks of this, it finally clicked for me. That was my topic. It's not what I wanted to talk about, but what I need to talk about. So there are all kinds of interesting topics. And then there's the actual daily lived experiences that we have as people who have awakened to animal suffering, who have let that suffering touch us, and then don't know what to do with it. So, or like we have experienced it, being helpless to stop the horror, hopeful that my small contribution will help, but ultimately standing hopeless before a great stone giant. 3 years ago, while my mother and I were immersed in the process of writing, editing, and publishing her book, Suffering Eyes, A Chronicle of Awakening, my mother had a dream. And she rarely dreams vividly, but when she does, it's a dream of deep significance. And in this dream, she stood before a great stone giant, representing the colossal challenge that she was up against. A world of indifference, hardness of heart, impossible to tear down or to topple. So in her dream, she stood paralyzed before the stone giant, paralyzed with fear and hopelessness. And then I entered the dream, and I said to her, don't worry, Mom, I know what to do. And I walked towards the giant with confidence and calm, and the dream ended. Something about that dream captures for me the hope and the hopelessness of a vegan future. There is a great stone giant standing between us and that future. What do we do with that? In my mother's dream, I knew what to do, though the dream rather inconveniently didn't reveal what that was. And in reality, I don't know what to do about that stone giant any more than my mother did, or any more than you do. But I think knowing what to do isn't what matters. So is there hope for a vegan future? Well, of course there is. It just makes sense. It just makes sense. For the animals, for ourselves, our bodies, our well-being. It makes sense for the environment, for social justice, for the very sustainability of the earth itself. It just makes sense. There are victories every minute of every day. There is an army of justice and right-heartedness and redress sweeping the world. My mother and I have the joy and the privilege of working with farmed animal sanctuaries, supporting them through the Suffering Eyes project. And not a day goes by that I don't see a victory. A pig falls off of a truck headed for slaughter and finds sanctuary. 4,000 chickens saved from a farm that was abandoned, leaving 50,000 chickens to die of starvation and disease. So 4,000 chickens found sanctuary. There's no way for me to express the hope that farmed animal sanctuaries alone represent. In my opinion, if there is any hope for a vegan future, farmed animal sanctuaries are at its foundation. But on the tales of hope and hopelessness, on the tales of hope follows hopelessness. The rest of the pigs on that truck, unlucky enough not to fall, or unlucky enough not to survive the fall, they're gone. And the 40,000 plus chickens who were not rescued from that farm are gone. And the 4,000 that were saved from the industry, they'll be replaced by 4,000 more, or more. As Robin Lamont writes in her captivating fiction novel, The Chain, about an undercover investigator who looks into allegations of abuse at a pig slaughterhouse. The slaughterhouse worker says to her quite simply, "Don't you know by now? Nothing stops the chain." For every animal rescued and brought to sanctuary, that animal is replaced on the chain, and 1 billion more are lost in the meantime. So if saving the life of a single animal is grounds for hope, and it is, then there's at least 1 billion times more grounds for hopelessness. This is not an exaggeration. We are shielded, and we shield ourselves against the enormity of our crimes. Right now, as we sit in this comfortable room, the animal world is being ripped apart on a scale that no adjective can touch. However wide open our eyes may be, we will only ever catch the tiniest fleeting glimpses of mere fractions of the whole. Here is one fraction. A single pig slaughterhouse in Toronto. Trucks arrive every day filled with pigs to be slaughtered there. 210 pigs are packed onto each truck. 50 trucks arrive per day. 10,000 pigs killed per day at a single slaughterhouse in Toronto. There are approximately 200 pig slaughterhouses in Ontario, some small, some large, but the numbers. And if you expand beyond Ontario, and beyond pigs to include cows, chickens, fish, there is no accounting. No accounting. Not even numbers can keep up with the enormity of our crimes. And yet those of us who see it are a minority. Who see the horror of it are a minority. And there's a stone giant again. And then there's the planned facility in China. We heard about this. That will be cloning 1 million cows a year to convert into beef after a brief and wholly unnatural lifespan. The demand for meat has surpassed the capacities of farmers to sustain through conventional farming of any scale. We are dishing out more death than can be sustained through birth. As my mother writes in her book, this is who we are. And still, these are mere fractions of the whole of the suffering for which we are responsible. This is summed up, the situation that we face is summed up quite well in this book, Zoopolis, A Political Theory of Animal Rights by Sue Donaldson and Will Kimlicka. And they sum up the dilemma. So they look at the victories of the animal rights movement, and they say, viewed this way, the movement can be seen as a success, cumulatively building on its victories. But there is another, darker side of the story. In a more global perspective, we would argue that the movement has largely failed. The numbers tell the story. World meat production has tripled since 1980, to the point that humans today kill 56 billion animals per year for food, not including aquatic animals. Meat production is expected to double again by 2050. These global trends are truly catastrophic, dwarfing the modest victories achieved through animal welfare reforms, and there is no sign that these trends will change. And in their conclusion, they reiterate this. While the animal advocacy movement has won some battles over the past century, it has essentially lost the war. The sheer scale of animal